Training camps are kicking off all over the place. Tom Brady has his first padded practice as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer today. On the flip side, in New England, Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham have been listed as co-starters for the New England Patriots one day after a WEEI report said that Jarrett Stidham was the most impressive player on the entire field. At this point, it really feels like all of New England does not want Cam Newton to start. They want Jarrett Stidham to stick around, but I believe if you know football at all, Cam Newton is probably going to be the guy that you want under center.
And how often does this happen with the Patriots where they just want you to think that they're going one way and they want to give you the smoke screens? And obviously right before the season, Cam Newton's obviously the starter. Everyone's known this the entire time, but we just never said it.
We only saw that he was listed as co-starter on Get Up this morning. I don't think we found that anywhere else.
No.
Is Bill Belichick listing people as co-starters? Is that a move he always does? Because that is hysterical. If at every single position he just had, these are tri-starters here, this is a co-starter here, this is a quadra-starter here, that would be awesome. But Hoyer just learned quickly that, so this isn't an actual competition.
Well, Hoyer, he had his co-starting days. 2013, 2014, him and Brady, co-starters, because Hoyer is one of the smartest brains in football, I'd say.
That team up there, Cam Newton, once he figures out the calculus, which is how they describe the New England Patriots offense, he said it's calculus, it's next level. I would assume that they're also shaping it around Cam Newton a little bit. They're probably changing some things for Cam Newton because that's what the New England Patriots do, by the way. You hear Bill Belichick talk about how back in the day when Matt Castle, we changed the offense to fit Matt Castle and Jimmy and Jacoby and everybody else that we've won with a quarterback that wasn't Tom Brady. We just fit the offense through them. That's what he said to Rich Eisen on draft release night. Yep. I would assume that they're kind of trying to figure out Cam Newton as well right now. At this age, what is Cam Newton able to do? What is he not able to do? We'll go back and watch a film when he beat us and what he was able to do against us and what he wasn't able to do. Hey, Cam, what do you hate? What do you love? What do you think we should maybe put in there? They're probably adding in a lot of packages that they aren't running yet in practice because you have a lot of media there. I mean, there's a lot to figure out. And offense always starts slow in training camp. It is something that got me very conflicted every training camp because every single season I went in there, watched the first couple of practices, and I thought we were going to punt 700 times. I'd look at Vinatieri. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go hit a little bit sprints over here maybe hit the cold tub a little bit, think we're punting a lot. And Vinatieri was always like, first couple weeks, dude, the offense is always slow, always slow, always slow. Let's not judge until a couple weeks from now, but it's nice to hear that Bill Belichick likes Cam Newton.
Yeah.
If you're a New England Patriot fan, that's good news, even if though you're too stubborn to even know that.
Well, if Stidham, too, is the guy, Cam Newton, you can line him up at receiver. I don't know if you saw that catch he made.
And then behind the back toss to Hoyer. Yeah, he's a different level. There's the guy that is just a different level athlete. If he can stay healthy, which is the big question mark. 2 years in a row, foot and shoulder, which are two very, very tough injuries to have if you're a quarterback and if you're Cam Newton is quarterback. Yeah. But now that he's healthy, Ron Rivera said if Cam Newton's healthy, that is a winning quarterback. That's top 10 quarterback. What was that, Diggs?
Is there an excitement in the air first day of pads when they put the pads on?
I don't think so. Maybe young guys. But like high school, right?
Yeah.
High school first day of pads, big deal. Mm-hmm. College first day of pads, probably the younger guys still there. The NFL first day of pads, everybody wants to be in they want to be in uppers. They don't want to be in full pads. The whole conversation is now granted rookies, right? Younger people who maybe haven't proven themselves want to get in there, and maybe there's some meatheads that really want to get after it. But the name of the game in the NFL is not being in full pads. That is like the very, hey, let's do uppers, which is just shoulder pads, and we'll do shorts on the bottom, just because even though there isn't a lot of pads underneath, the fact that you have shorts on with shoulder pads on, it just feels much looser. So the pads is not an excitement in the air. It's more of like, here we go. This is one down. How many are we allowed to have? We're allowed to have 10 of these now? These are one down. Just because not only is it the sense of like, okay, these are uncomfortable and we're going full pads and it's hot as balls and we can't move as much because the pants are so tight, but also we know what drills are coming. So the drills that are coming are run your face into each other drills. And if you're a vet, you're probably getting pulled out of these drills anyways. But if you're like a veteran, but not like a made man, you know you're going against these young guys, and today is going to be a day where you want to thud. Now, there's a lot of guys that bang, like and enjoy hitting people, and I'm not saying they don't, but notoriously, full padded days are hated by damn near every human in the NFL.
It obviously differs for like different quarterbacks going to different teams, but how long do you think it will take Cam to like fully grasp that playbook and be comfortable with it?
They said it's calculus, so I don't know. I have no idea. But a lot of it goes on what the defense has. And the good thing, or defense is showing, because Julian Edelman runs a lot of choice routes, right? And Amendola ran a lot of choice routes, and Welker runs a lot of choice routes. So everybody has to be on the same page, which is why it's calculus. Is because for them, quarterback, wide receiver have to be seeing the same damn thing, and if they're not, big deal. Like it is a big deal there, right? So I think the good thing about Cam Newton is he has seen all the defenses, so he already knows all the defenses. Now he has to know what the hell's going on his side, and this is for a guy who, my completion percentage is only 50%, but not too shabby, biggest turkey bull of all time. But that is the big thing. It's like, who can be on the same page with everybody? And that's why it's such a big deal, because if one person's off and it's your quarterback, the person with the ball, and everybody else is on the same page, that's a big problem. Probably turnovers, which is what the Patriots, by the way, don't do.
Do you think there's any benefit to him going against like the Patriots defense? Because the looks that they'll give will obviously be a little more complex.
Best secondary in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know how many ones-on-ones they got, or if they go ones versus twos, or what the setup is up there. I think each coach is different. I was with a couple different coaches that like offense coordinators, we want to go ones-on-ones. Then there was a couple like, hey, we want to go against your twos because we don't have it figured out yet, but we kind of want to be able to go through it against some competition. So it all depends. I would assume Belichick is a ones-on-ones guy every once in a while. I would assume that's a best-on-best, which is always fun to watch, by the way. First day of best-on-best at training camp is a great day to watch. You learn a lot very quickly about how everybody's offseason was, but then some days where you got the ones going against the twos, you're like, okay, so it's nice to know that to people that don't know that our offense on the defensive side of the ball can't figure it out, right? Because a lot of the defenders that are playing against our offense in practice, they know our offense. They know what's coming. And when the ones go and then the twos go and then the threes go, that's all recycled. So you got some smarter defenders who like watch what's happening before, and they know exactly the play that's coming. So whenever you go like ones versus twos or ones versus threes, which I would assume a lot of fans don't love, they're like, oh, why don't you play against your best? It's like, well, you're also getting a chance to see how somebody would react that doesn't know the exact play that's coming. Because if they're on the ones on the defense side of the ball, there's a good chance they're incredibly smart and know what's coming. So training camp can be handled in so many different directions. First day of pads, though, as a player, probably don't love it, but as a fan now, and it's like, hey, we're getting there now. We are getting there. Now, it feels like we are really getting there. This isn't just workouts. This isn't just testing. This isn't just stretching and meeting. This is like pads, football. We're tackling, we're breathing, we're sweating on each other. Are we spreading COVID? TBD.
We've talked about how like a young quarterback will come into a system, and it's sometimes a veteran's responsibility to teach them the offense or not. How about when a veteran quarterback comes in the system and Hoyer's there? So I assume Cam just goes to Hoyer and probably doesn't even go to Stidham to ask Stidham any questions because they're in a competition? Or
No. I would assume. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Stidham and Cam are friends from Auburn, I guess. And also, if anybody knows anything about the Patriot way, it's like, do your job. And I think up there, it's like, we don't care about how you went. Now, granted, I don't think Hoyer or Stidham are giving away tricks or secrets that they've had to work 10 years to find, right? Which fans would be like, oh, well, why not? Like help out the team or whatever. It's like, well, also you need a job.
How about yourself?
Need a job a little bit.
Need to
figure this out. My family. I would like to not go lay cement for a living. So there's a lot of things like that. But I would assume that both Stidham, Hoyer, and Cam and Josh McDaniels have a very free-flowing quarterback room. And I would assume that there's different packages happening for Cam than there is for Hoyer and Stidham as well. So I think it's an all-for-one in this particular setting. And Hoyer's been around a long time, long time. I would assume he'll become a coach somewhere if he wants to. If he wants to, I don't know if he wants to. And Stidham, I think, is probably helping Cam out because they're friends. Like, hey, let's go get a Super Bowl. By the way, let's go and do this thing.
Well, and for Stidham too, it's only his second year. So even if he doesn't play this year, he still has 2 more if Cam leaves after, unless we re-sign him. But how long does it take for training camp? Is it today? Do people see a few guys in pads like, okay, you're not making the team, or is it like halfway through where it really becomes apparent who's on the team?
So pads, even the shoulder pads, is a day you learn about some people.
Oh, yeah.
And you hear old coaches too. Like there's some older coaches, not old coaches, but older coaches. Whenever there's a young player that's popping off, whenever they're just in Skelly, it's just like a little pad thing and you do whatever. You hear like some old coaches like, we'll find out. Like, hey, we will find out. And then day one, trucks because these are men now. You're playing against men. So these college kids come into the NFL. And if you make the NFL, you are such a small percentage of college players, and you are so good. Your high school, you were the best athlete you were ever. In college, you were one of the best athletes ever. And then now you get to the NFL, and you're playing against every single class's best athlete of all time in just a select group. So that first day of pads, I think there's a lot of welcome to the NFL moments for people. Yeah. And those are whenever one of the big boys gets their hand on you, like an offensive lineman will grab you, and it's like, oh, damn, this isn't an 18-year-old kid from Arkansas that's grabbing me right now who doesn't have good footwork. It's like, oh, this is Marshall Yonda just put his hands on me. And then, by the way, he was trying to put me through the ground as opposed to just like, hey, we're doing this thing. So there's a lot of those moments, but it's all when the lights come on. Everything's when the lights come on. And now some players don't make it to when the games happen, which is a shame. Some people aren't practice players. I was never a practice player. Couldn't do it. Like, for whatever reason, just couldn't do it. And I think it was because I was mentally weak at the time whenever I was younger. So I was in a competition my first training camp with Tim Masthay, who went on to become the Green Bay Packers. Yep. And Tim Masthay was the special team coach's favorite punter coming out. So Bill Polian drafted me. The special teams coach wanted Tim Masthay or Thomas Morstead. Thomas Morstead gets drafted to the Saints before me. So they bring in Tim Masthay to compete with me, and I'd known Tim Masthay. But I knew it was a competition for a job. I had never, like in college, they would bring in kickers, but I was the kicker, the punter, the kickoff guy, and there was really nobody that they were going to be able to bring in. But with Tim, he was very talented. So it was my first time ever going into a camp where I'm like, okay, I'm in competition right now. And I'd have real, like, okay, like practice matters. Like this is a real thing. Like you have to. Soccer was never able to do it. College football was never able to do it. I was never able to get myself into the mindset that it was a game in practice because it wasn't, right? So I was always like that. So now, granted, I was able to outlast Tim because of the wall and the ball and how I was able to kick hundreds of balls every single day. And it just, to be honest, I think that's the only reason why I got the job is just because they kicked us every single day against each other and I didn't fall out. Like I still had strength. And Tim went on to have a great career with the Packers. Yeah. I mean, he was an incredible punter. I was watching him, trying to learn from him while I was competing with him because I didn't know exactly what I was doing. But like that competition thing, if you don't know how to turn it on in practice and you don't get a chance to make it to the game, it can be a real bummer for you. It wasn't until like year 3 or 4 that I knew how to practice and I was able to like put myself in like a position like, okay, here we go. We are up 2, backed up. Because there's a lot of people think that all the pressure is on kickers. Punters, think about it. I had a punt against Houston Texans. I think we're up 2. We're on the 4. Then we got a delay game or a false start. So now we're on the 2 with 42 seconds left. I'm punting out the back of my end zone. Field goal for them wins it, right? Mm-hmm. So if you hit a shank here, game over basically, let alone if you hit one and they return it at the outside being so like I was able to figure out how to put myself into those positions, but I wasn't able to do it in practice. So then when it would show up in a game, it was like, oh, it's my first time doing it. And that's like the difference between like a practice player and somebody that can turn on in games. But there's some people who can only turn it on in games. And there's some OGs that can only turn it on in games that made it somehow. But if you're not a top 3 draft pick, you have to figure out how to be in practice so that you can get a chance to do it in games. And that's really that fine balance of whether or not you can figure it out.